He or she, indeed.
This loser is ruining the game, man.
I don't care if he's Arnold frickin' Schwarzenegger. Terminate him. We're doing great.
Guy, in 2 days, the game is going to shut down. You, this whole city, they'll be gone.
What if we can save it?
Was that cool? It felt really cool. We can change our world, but we have to fight together. I don't even know what's happening right now, but I love it! Woo! It's the first time I've ever driven a car before.
I really wish you'd mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love you, loser guy!
Thank you! Watch out for them! They seem nice.
Hey, wait. We gotta try it.
Try what?
Calling the empty man.
Who's the empty man?
If you're on a bridge and you find a bottle, you blow into it, and you think about the empty man.
Oh, come on, Mandy. How old are you?
Tell him the rest.
On the first night, you hear him. And on the second night, you see him.
And on the third night?
Well, on the third night, he finds you. He finds you. You hear him squirming his way into your thoughts. Like a disease. And his message is contagious. The empty man, 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 the empty man. You gotta try it.
Try what?
Calling the empty man. The empty man. On the first night, you hear him. The empty man, the empty man. On the second night, you see him.
And on the third night?
Well, on the third night, he finds you. The empty man, the empty man, the empty man, the empty man.
The Empty Man. Watch it now on Digital On Demand.
We pick up right where we left the Turners at the end of season 1. The child is missing, and Dorothy believes that the cult has taken their child.
Her. This woman was in my house today, and she took Jericho.
Part of what makes a thriller is stakes, and the timetable is critical to that. So in her mind, she has 48 hours to find this baby, or else.
You need to establish roadblocks on a 50-mile perimeter around this city. I shouldn't have to tell you how to do your job.
Sean is half-heartedly looking for the baby because there is no baby to look for in his mind. So he's in an in-between place of, I'm not sure, I think I lost my mind too.
Dorothy hasn't been right since the exit. She's not crazy. No one is using that word.
The way I saw Dorothy was very theatrical, and the turmoil that's going on in her is being represented by her mania, both in front of the camera
It's like 100,000 pounds of steel just resting down on my shoulders. I'm serious, Minister. A judge. You have 47 minutes. Stay in communication with me. Do what you have to do. I will be home by tomorrow afternoon.
یه اتفاق بد افتاده. یه مأمور مستعد وارد ایران شده.
اسرائیل میخوان یه کار بزرگ بکنن. The coast is clear. Take off the package.
I mean, copy that.
همین امروز میخوام گیرش بندازم. اینو پیدا کن.
Cops are here. You have to get that.
I'm almost done.
נבחרת הפריצה הפיזית.
دیگه کی هستی؟
The mission is burned. They're on to you now. من بخیلوت شدم؟
از مسکن خشم جایی ندارم برم فقط یه شب
میدونی قایم کردن یه اسرائیلی یعنی چی؟
I will get you out. I'll do whatever it takes.
داره کارشو میکنه.
I need your help. The police are looking for me. They're questioning everyone here.
دست منو بیا بیرون.
تو میدونی ازت چی میخوام؟ من هیچ وقت خانومو ندیدم.
You keep lying to me. You're not gonna make it home alive. If I were you, I'd get my revenge on all time. You have to admit that. Do not test me.
شكي ولا بقولها خمسة وبروفيل. We're not gonna get another chance.
منم میخوام حالشون رو بگیرم و به زانو درشون بیارم. بوری که همه دنیا ببینن.
There's no going back now.
People got a lot to say about your good and not so good old days. I don't put my long path up against your recent deadly past and see who goes to jail. Who's bigger than the two of us now? This has only ever been about the two of us.
The Russians put the first man on the moon. We're so close. Thought it was about being first, but the stakes are much bigger now.
The world's changing.
This is the new front in the Cold War. The Soviets are going to build a lunar military outpost. The president wants one too, and he wants it first. We cannot allow space to become another battlefield.
How would you want weapons on the moon?
Warrior.
You are our eyes and ears up there. I didn't sign up for this.
Soviets are a threat to this base.
We need to send them a message. This is our territory.
Is this really happening? My God.
Vet du vad är skillnaden med rovdjur och flyttdjur?
Det här är vår strand. Vi har de behövliga.
Det händer nu.
Bara en sak. Och en cabin. Vet du vad det är? Allt.
I'm glad you're back. I imagine it's going to take some time getting used to. You just got to get yourself back out there.
Homer. You were all USA player 2 years ago at Riverside? Yes, sir. A whole lot's changed.
That boy, that's Sam. His mama took off. He'll be staying with us till she's back.
You know you're a boy, right?
Yeah.
In the hours that I've known.
Do you know when my mom is coming back?
He's gonna have to get on the system.
There's something seriously wrong with that kid. Would you set me free?
How did you end up in prison?
Don't matter. Do what I did.
Don't go what you did today.
And there's nowhere to hide.
Listen to me, son. Kids are mean. Especially when they see something that they ain't used to seeing.
You ain't nothing but a criminal. You got no right looking after any child.
There's things in this world you can be, and there's things that you can't. How many boys do you see on that show?
None.
What does that tell you?
That I can be the first.
Truth is, I haven't felt like I was good at anything. So Sam.
You couldn't stay out of trouble, could you?
Can't abandon that boy. Will not abandon that boy.
You had a little tea party the other day.
Yeah.
Careful, Palmer. It's hot. Yankees, please.
Real good.
This is a question for you, Alice. What made you decide to direct this film?
When was the time running up think the only reason to make a move is if you can't help it.
Alice, you know it, right? I've been wondering where you went.
I read the script and I just didn't have a choice. It was an act of survival for me. I don't believe anyone who says you can have it all. Because you can't. And sometimes people you love. Sorry. There are people you love get hurt on the way. I guess it's all part of the ride. You pray to God that it will be worth it at the end.
Don't let me go. It's coming for me. Help me, someone.
Do you think it was worth it?
We're concerned the Soviets might be trying to introduce a new weapon.
We let this go, it would set a dangerous precedent.
Welcome to NASA. You are, as of this moment, officially astronaut candidates.
Someday people will write the history of this time.
This is James Actual. 10 seconds, mark.
They will say that during the coldest depths of the Cold War, America inspired the world.
I give you Pathfinder. It's 3 times as powerful as our current shuttle.
I'm tired of talking about the good old days.
Don't miss it.
With this weapon, I could drop munitions on any point on Earth.
The president wants you to put together a new mission. I shouldn't go.
You don't think I noticed the look in your eyes at every launch?
Hoorah.
I have here the rules of engagement for use of force on the moon. That's steps away from nuclear war. Target lock.
Once we do this thing, there's no going back.
This program has the power to change the world.
You need to remind them Apollo 11 came in peace for all mankind.
Ready to fire.
We need to live up to that.
Free to go.
I play a bomber who comes back home from 12 years of being in prison to find everything a bit different.
You just gotta get yourself back out there.
So many people are just discarded after they come out of prison.
You were all going to say player 2 years in a row.
Yes, sir. If I can't get a job sweeping floors, what am I supposed to do? While trying to find myself, I stumble upon Sam.
There's something seriously wrong with the kid.
I think I can spice that up a little.
His mama took off again.
Sam's mother is battling a pretty extreme drug addiction.
You wouldn't know where Shelly is.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
You sure you can hang on to him for a little bit longer?
Hey, Palmer.
You have this kid who's just content in being who he is. He just does what feels natural. He dresses a certain way. He's very comfortable in his own skin.
Quite enough of it.
Thanks.
My character sees that he can make a difference in this child's life. You think maybe we ought to put something else in there today?
Grab that loaf of bread.
And finds his way through that action.
Yeah, I'm doing good, huh?
Real good.
This boy gives Palmer self-esteem, really. Palmer gives this boy a father.
Who did this to you, Sam?
Okay, you tell us.
What are you gonna do? Beat up everyone that picks on him?
You ain't nothing but a criminal.
You just couldn't stay out of trouble, could you?
I've been really against
It's about the possibility of someone who, through adversity, can come out the other side and be better for it.
Know what it feels like to be left alone. I will not abandon that boy. This is a story about redemption, acceptance, and love.
Second chances are possible, and you can be whoever you want to be.
The truth is, I haven't felt like I was good at anything in a long time until Sam.
Free to go.
I play a bomber who comes back home from 12 years of being in prison to find everything a bit different.
You just gotta get yourself back out there.
So people are just discarded after they come out of prison.
You were all USA player 2 years in a row.
Yes, sir. If If I can't get a job sweeping floors, what am I supposed to do? While trying to find myself, I stumble upon Sam.
There's something seriously wrong with that kid.
I think I can back that up a little.
His mama took off again.
Sam's mother is battling a pretty extreme drug addiction.
Wouldn't know where Shelly is.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
You should hang on to him for a little bit longer.
Hey, Palmer.
You have this kid who's just content in being who he is.
He is.
He just does what feels natural. He dresses a certain way. He's very comfortable in his own skin.
Quite an outfit.
Thanks.
My character sees that he can make a difference in this child's life. You think maybe we ought to put something else in there today? Grab that loaf of bread and finds his way through that action. Sam, I'm doing good. Huh?
Real good.
This boy gives Palmer self-esteem, really. Palmer gives this boy a father.
Who did this to you, Sam?
It's okay, you can tell us.
What are you gonna do? Eat up everyone that picks on him?
You ain't nothing but a criminal.
Just couldn't stay out of trouble.
It's about the possibility of someone who, through adversity, can come out the other side and be better for it.
I know what it feels like to be left alone. I will not abandon that boy. This is a story about redemption, acceptance, and love.
Second chances are possible, and you can be whoever you want to be.
The truth is, I haven't felt like I was good at anything in a long time. Until Sam.
Maybe because I broke chain of command.
Distance is classified.
And put your tracker on your back.
A real change.
Welcome to the war, kid.
Trust me, Har.
밟아.
맨날 나만 일하는 것까지 지금 중이야. 빨리 통해 어떻게 살아남았는지 몰라.
The robot is extremely dangerous. It is nearly indistinguishable from a real human child, but is actually a dangerous weapon that could cause mass destruction.
Welcome aboard TN Industries Titan Class Drone. It's important to follow all safety protocols. Always keep alert. Remember to use the buddy system at all times. Working alone is against company policy. Hyperventilation will quickly deplete your oxygen supply. So remember, remain calm. Remain calm.
Remain calm. Underwater. Rated PG-13.
Good morning, Goldie. My name is Guy, and I live in Free City. I have everything I need. Except one thing.
Hey! Excuse me. Hey! Hey, bud, you ever think that there's got to be more?
More than what?
The stuff we do day after day.
Literally not once. Today's gonna be different, Goldie. What are we looking at?
Who are you?
We ran into each other the other day.
How did you find me?
I waited outside by the murder train.
Guy, I have to tell you something. There is no easy way to say this. This world, it's a video game.
I really want to kiss you. Is that weird?
Listen to me. You're not real.
Wait, you let who kiss you?
Guy.
There's not a button for that.
Oh, he found the button.
Buddy, if we're not real, doesn't that mean that nothing you do matters?
I am sitting here with my best friend trying to help him get through a tough time. Now, if that's not real, I don't know what is.
Soviets might be trying to introduce a new weapon.
We let this go, it would set a dangerous precedent.
Welcome to NASA. You are, as of this moment, officially astronaut candidates.
Someday people will write the history of this time.
This is Jamestown Actual. 10 seconds. Mark.
They will say that during the coldest depths of the Cold War, America inspired the world.
I give you Pathfinder. 3 times as powerful as our current shuttles.
I'm tired of talking about the good old days.
Don't y'all miss it?
With this weapon, I could drop munitions on any point on Earth.
The president wants you to put together a new mission. I shouldn't go.
You don't think I notice the look in your eyes at every launch?
Hoorah.
I have here the rules of engagement for use of force on the moon.
That's steps away from nuclear war. Target lock.
Once we do this thing, there's no going back.
This program has the power to change the world.
You need to remind them on Apollo 11. We came in peace for all mankind.
Ready to fire.
We need to live up to that.
Mankind has always been fascinated by the moon. And traveling there was one of humanity's greatest achievements. But what if landing on the moon was just the beginning? Welcome to Jamestown, 1974. Jamestown Base is the first permanent outpost established on the moon. Built for exploration and research, it's designed to house 3 astronauts for 3 months at a time. It's not exactly a 5-star hotel. Space is confined, and privacy is almost non-existent. But compared to the LEM, it's actually pretty roomy. Living on the moon has its advantages. Unlike out in space where there's no gravity, the moon has 1/6 the gravity of Earth. So it turns out you can take a shower on the moon. There's enough gravity so that water will actually fall down before it gets recycled. All right, let's head over to the galley. Here we have a folding table that stows against the wall. The cup holders built into the table are even heated to keep your food warm. Though it's not exactly mom's home cooking, then again, you don't come here for the food. Mission patches are displayed on the walls, so you can leave your mark. This one's for Apollo 21, Molly Cobb's first trip to the base. As the unofficial mascot of NASA astronauts since the 1960s, you'll find Snoopy all over Jamestown. He's even color-coded to help you keep track of your belongings. Over here is the bedroom. In 1/6 gravity, you'll be able to hop right onto the top bunk without a ladder. Personal space is quite limited, so privacy curtains and a little decorating can go a long way. One danger of living in partial gravity is losing bone and muscle mass. To fight that, you can use a rowing machine or a pull-up bar. You'll also want to use these resistance bands because if you can lift 100 pounds on Earth, you can lift 6 times that on the moon. If you want to go out for a moonwalk, you need to exit to the airlock. The room here is pressurized, so you can exit and enter without releasing the air from the entire station. The radiation in outer space can be a huge danger to astronauts. To help shield the crew, regolith is spread across the roof of the base. But regolith can also gum up the electronics and make us sick. That's why Jamestown has a specialized air filtration system inside the base. Some of this external equipment might look a little familiar. The fuel tanks, RCS thrusters, and four descent engines were all repurposed from the LEM to land the base on the surface without any crew on board. Also located on the roof are solar panels. Because the base is located at the lunar south pole, the sun is always very low on the horizon. For this reason, the panels pivot 90 degrees to capture the sunlight and power the base. We've even thought about the future. We've got 2 hatches ready for expansion. And now let's take a look around the ops area. Here's where the crew can plan and keep track of their various missions. The monitors let us keep eyes on the rover, mining, and everything else on the lunar surface. Over here, you'll find controls for the power, fire suppression system, electronics, and computer processing. Throughout the station, you'll also find our high-tech onboard communication system. Astronauts have operational conversations with NASA over continuous video and audio feeds, but all personal conversations are done exclusively in the comm bay. You can even call your family when you have a break. Jamestown shows what a moon base could have looked like in the Apollo era. It's as realistic as possible given the technology of the time. I'm Garrett Reisman, former NASA astronaut and crew member for the International Space Station. I'm also the technical advisor on For All Mankind. Now, we've come a long way since the Apollo era. I mean, think of what a moon base could be with the technology of today. Maybe the idea of living on the moon is actually closer than we think.
Okay, go, no go for undocking. Fido. Go flight. Guido. Go. Retro.
Go flight.
Booster.
Go flight.
Telmute. That's a firm flight. GMC.
Go flight.
Ecom. Go flight. Surgeon. Go flight. Go for undocking.
Columbia.
Houston, you are go for undocking. Roger, Houston. Go for undocking.
You cats take it easy on the lunar surface.
I hear you huffing and puffing. I'm gonna start bitching at you.
Roger that, Michael.
Okay, here you go.
Probe. Extend. Release. Beautiful.
Neil, you got 4 down on lock.
Houston, the Eagle has wings.
Think you got a pretty fine-looking flying machine
There you go. Despite the fact you're upside down.
Somebody's upside down.
You guys take care now.
For every American, for people all over the world, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. By far the greatest audience.
They feel the tension on the streets of London.
The audience is estimated at 12 million.
Began to disappear behind the moon.
I've been traveling on the far side of the moon, beyond radio contact with mission control.
Go for the descent orbit insertion.
A 30-second burn that drops the Eagle to a mere 10 miles above the lunar surface and prepares them for their final descent. We're only moments away from a flurry of activity that will, if all goes well, find Armstrong and Aldrin safely on the moon.
Eagle, Houston, do you read?
Eagle, this is Houston.
Eagle Houston, do you read?
Eagle Houston, do you copy?
Roger, we copy.
Eagle Houston.
Can we get a status on your burn?
Very good burn, Houston.
On time, no residuals.
All right, 10 minutes to power descent. Let's get their sun check and then go around the horn.
Eagle, this is Houston. We're ready for that sun check.
Roger, Houston.
Sun check to 3 barks. Noun 20 minus noun 22. Plus 0.19. Plus 0.16. Over.
Eagle Houston, we only copied 3 of the marks. Please repeat the sun check. Over.
Houston, Eagle, how do you read now?
Eagle, we're getting oscillations in your high gain. Say again, Houston, we didn't know.
Flight, tell me we've lost Miss Finn.
Roger, we've lost Miss Finn. Flight, guidance, I've lost data.
We keep losing them, Flight.
Clock's running, fellas. I want a go, no-go for power descent.
Columbia, this is Houston. We've lost all data with Eagle.
Please have it reacquire on high gain. Over. Eagle, this is Columbia.
Houston would like you to reacquire on the high gain. They've lost
Data with you.
Roger, we copy. Houston, Eagle, how do you read me now?
You got us locked up there, telling you?
Okay, we're just real weak, Flight.
How are you looking? All your systems go?
That's a firm Flight.
Guidance, you happy? Go, Flight. Fido, how about you?
We're go. We're a little low, Flight, but no problem.
Raj, Ecom?
Go, Flight.
GNC?
Go.
Surgeon?
We're go.
Capcom, we are go for power descent.
Eagle Houston, if you read, you are go for power descent.
Roger, understand. Stabilization and control circuit breakers. Deca gimbal AC closed.
Deca gimbal AC closed.
Command override off.
Command override is off.
Gimbal enable.
Gimbal enable.
Rate scale 25.
25.
Thrust translation 4 jets.
4 jets.
Balance couple on.
Balance couple is on.
TCA throttle minimum.
Throttle's at minimum.
Throttle auto CDR.
Auto CDR.
Stop button reset.
Stop button is reset.
Abort stage reset.
Abort stage reset.
Engine arm descent. 7 seconds.
Yes, proceed.
Proceed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Throttle up.
Burn looks good. Eagle, your burn looks good.
Okay, rate of descent looks good. Ags and pings agree very closely.
RCS is good. No flags. Dips pressure is good.
Eagle, you are still looking good at coming up on 3 minutes. Over.
We went by our 3-minute point early. We're gonna land long. Houston, our position checks downrange show us to be a little long. We are going to roll over and have you check our altitude.
Roger, we copy.
Rolling over. Houston, you're looking at our Delta H.
Flight, radar looks good. 2,000 feet Delta H. Raj, 2,000 foot Delta H. Let me know when he accepts the guidance.
Program alarm, it's at 1202.
1202.
1202, Jack, is that radar?
1202, that's an assault. We didn't have this in the sound.
What is it? Give us a reading on that 1202 program alarm.
It's
suck. It's
We had it with the 12 crew. It's just a temporary overload. It's not fatal. We're okay as long as it's intermittent.
We're go on that flight.
We're going that alarm?
If it's only intermittent, we'll be go.
Eagle, Houston, we are go on that alarm.
Roger.
Eggs and pings look real close. Give us a pitch overtime, please, Houston.
Eagle, you are 30 seconds to P64.
Roger, and I've got the window.
Roger, we have got good data, and you are looking good at coming up at 8:30, over.
P64. Okay, 5,000 feet is good. 100 feet per second is good.
Okay, I want to go, no go on landing. Guido.
Go flight.
Retro.
Go flight.
Booster.
Go flight.
Tell mute.
That's a firm flight.
GNC.
Go.
ECOM.
Go flight.
Surgeon.
Go flight.
Capcom, go.
Eagle, Houston, you are go for
Landing. Go for landing, over.
Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet.
Give me an LPD.
47 degrees.
Pretty rocky area. I'm going to manual.
Roger, Eagle.
58 forward.
No problem.
600 feet down at 19. Program alone. 1201.
Guidance. All your systems go?
Same type. We're go flight.
Go.
We are go. Same type.
We are go.
Okay, you're pegged on horizontal velocity.
300 feet. Down 3.5. 47 forward. Slow it up.
1.5 down. Ease her down.
250. How's the fuel?
7% fuel remaining. Down at 2.5. 19 forward.
altitude velocity lights are on. We lost our radar.
3.5 down.
220 feet. 13 forward.
Gonna be right over that crater.
160 feet. 5.5 down. Quantity light. 60 seconds to go. No go.
Looks like a good area here.
Take it down. 60 feet. Down 2.5. 2 forward. 2 forward. 40 feet. Down 2.5. 30 seconds of fuel. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drifting to the right a little.
20 feet down a half.
Picking up some dust.
Can't see it.
Contact light.
Shut down.
Okay, engine off. DCA out of D10.
Out of D10. Auto.
Mode control, both auto.
Both auto.
Descent engine command override off.
Command override off.
Engine arm off.
Engine arm off.
413 is in.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. We got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Be advised, there are lots of smiling faces in this room and all over the world.
Well, there's 2 of them up here.
The one in the command module.
Sounded great from up here. You guys did a fantastic job.
All right, flight controllers. Going around the horn for stay, no stay. All right, Fido.
Stay flight.
Guido.
Stay flight.
Retro.
Stay.
Tell you.
Stay.
Booster.
Stay.
GNC.
Stay flight.
Houston, Tranquility.
Go, Tranquility, over.
Our recommendation at this point is an EVA with your concurrence starting at about 8 o'clock this evening, Houston time. That is about 3 hours from now.
Stand by.
Well, we'll let you think about that one.
Tranquility Base Houston, we thought about it and we'll support it. We are go for an early EVA, over.
Roger.
Neil, there's something I'd like to do if you don't mind. I cleared it with Deke. After all the grief that Frank and the others got for reading from Genesis. I can't be specific, but something I want to do. Houston, Tranquility, over.
Tranquility Houston, go ahead.
Roger, this is the LEM pilot. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask every person listening in, whoever or wherever they may be, to pause a moment and contemplate the events of the past few hours. And to give thanks in his or her own way. Over.
Roger, Tranquility Base.
I am the vine and you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit, for you can do nothing without me.
Now you're even. That's good. You got plenty of room on your left. You're a little close on the right. Back down a little bit. Back down. That's it. Doing fine. You got it.
Okay, Houston, I'm on the porch.
Roger, Neil. Standing by for your TV. Hey, we're getting a picture on the TV.
It's not even collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The LEM foot pads are only depressed in the surface about 1-2 inches, although the surface appears to be very, very fine grained when you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. I'm gonna step off the LEM now. That's one small step for man. One giant leap for mankind. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It is the first human footstep on the moon, and the world is forever changed.
Fantastic feeling. It was one of great accomplishment.
It was almost miraculous.
We did it for all the right reasons. We did come in peace for all mankind.
On July 20th, 1969, as the lunar dust compresses beneath the boot of astronaut Neil Armstrong, NASA's Apollo project scores a bullseye. Until the fall of 1957, the moon is Earth's only satellite, orbiting for eons in silent vigil. That October, the hush of space and America's sense of security is shattered by Sputnik. The sound of the Soviet satellite becomes eerily familiar to Americans. Fears escalate that the Cold War could heat up with catastrophic effect.
Immediately, everyone thought, well, they're now able to really send their military machines around the world up above. Who is not going to be in danger?
President Eisenhower combined several agencies working on rocketry and flight to create one civilian agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Over the next years, the United States successfully launches satellites with great scientific payback. To prepare for human flight, several animals, including a chimpanzee named Ham, survived the ride to space and back. But once again, these American accomplishments are eclipsed by the Soviet space machine. April 12, 1961. Cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin becomes the first human in space. To temper this latest Soviet triumph, the U.S. needs to put its own man in space. That man is astronaut Alan Shepard.
1.2 G. Shepard's flight had tremendous impact. I think it was the leading technological accomplishment of that era and led to the whole future of the exploration to the moon.
Unlike Gagarin's 108-minute orbit of Earth, Shepard's suborbital flight, the nation's lone human venture into space, lasts just 15 minutes. Nonetheless, President Kennedy goes before Congress and lays down the gauntlet.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
The combination of the Gagarin flight and the Bay of Pigs disaster with Cuba, I think, pushed Kennedy towards something that would be positive and would show that we were ahead of the Soviet Union.
President Kennedy's interest in space moves beyond just beating the Soviets. As his passion grows, so does his rhetoric.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
It will take an all-out effort by thousands of dedicated Americans to design and build the machines and methodologies needed to succeed, one small step at a time.
Godspeed, John Glenn.
February 20th, 1962. John Glenn circumnavigates the Earth 3 times.
The single most important factor was that man could survive and perform as well at 0 gravity as he could at 1G.
0G, and I feel fine.
By May 1963, the U.S. Mercury program flies 6 manned flights. But the last, Gordon Cooper's 34-hour solo mission, still leaves the moon out of America's reach. The Gemini program is the next step. Its larger capsule carries 2 astronauts. Mercury veteran Gus Grissom flies with John Young aboard Gemini 3, the program's first manned flight. On Gemini 4, Ed White opens the hatch and steps out into the void as America's first spacewalker.
I feel like $1 million. I'm a fish up.
Extravehicular activity, EVA, in NASA speak, is critical to a moon mission.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So too is the ability of 2 spacecraft to meet up or rendezvous in space. It happens on Jim Lovell's first flight.
The first rendezvous, Gemini 6 with Gemini 7, I think was a magnificent milestone in the quest to go to the moon, because we had to determine the types of rendezvous that we want to do around the moon, and we first had it just about around the Earth.
By Gemini's 12th and final mission, rendezvous and docking are well practiced.
Gemini 12, Houston, Capcom, 1 minute to LOS. New EVA record, beautiful job.
NASA is now ready to shoot for the moon. But there are just 3 years left to meet President Kennedy's goal, and no one really knows how close the highly secretive Soviets are. And of the moon itself, little is known.
Could be dust up to 25, 30 feet thick. If you landed on it, you would sink into the moon. If you landed on it and set out some fire from the rockets, exhaust, it would cause this huge inferno on the lunar surface. What were the radiation problems on the moon from the sun? What were the thermal conditions you had to deal with on the lunar surface?
Getting answers falls to a series of robotic spacecraft. In mid-1966, Surveyor 1 lands on the lunar surface. The 11,000 photos it sends back help to dispel fear and clear the way for the Apollo moon landing program. 2 short months after the final Gemini flight, Astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee are posing for photos and spending hours in simulators as they prepare for the first Apollo mission less than a month away. January 27th, 1967. The crew is in the capsule, mounted atop an unfueled Saturn 1B for a dress rehearsal of the countdown sequence. A series of problems has already raised tensions at the launch pad. When 5.5 hours into the test, Ed White's shots are heard.
At that point, things progressed with absolutely stunning speed. I mean, it was only a matter of 20 seconds before the crew was unconscious. Moments later, the pressure from the fire had increased to the point where it literally ruptured the hull of the spacecraft. Toxic smoke spewed into the White Room. The technicians were struggling to get the hatch open and rescue the crew, but they were driven back by the intense heat and the smoke. Many long minutes passed before they could open the hatch, and of course, by that point, the crew had died. All 3 astronauts were dead.
The loss of Grissom, White, and Chaffee momentarily cripples NASA's moon landing program. But as the 3 astronauts are given heroes' burials, Apollo, like another mythological figure, Phoenix, begins its rise from the ashes. Following recommendations of an accident review board, the Apollo Command Module is redesigned and rewired for safety, all under the wary eye of the astronauts who will fly it. 20 months later, from the same pad Apollo 1 had occupied, Apollo 7 roars off for an 11-day shakedown in Earth orbit.
We inherited the first manned Apollo mission, which turned out to be Apollo 7. But as with many things with NASA, what was a disaster with Apollo 1 turned out to be a real triumph with Apollo 7 because the spacecraft itself was a marvelous flying machine.
It's also the first time live television shows Earthbound humans what it's like to be in space.
It says from that lovely Apollo something. You guys should write.
Apollo room. High atop everything. High atop everything.
Apollo 7's success restores some swagger to America's space program. But there are reports the Soviets may be closing in on the moon.
The original plan was for Apollo 8 to be an Earth orbit test, but the lunar module wasn't ready. And so the decision was made to actually do a circumnavigation of the moon. So that's what actually happened in December of 1968.
The engines are on. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Commander Frank Borman, veteran astronaut Jim Lovell, and rookie Bill Anders are the first humans to ride the Saturn V's 7.5 million pounds of thrust.
We were way up on the top, like a ladybug on the end of your automobile's whip antenna. So as these big engines were thrashing around to keep this thing straight up, boy, the ladybug was getting thrashed. And it was so loud, we couldn't talk. The vibration, the thrashing was violent, and you couldn't see the instrument panel. But when we cleared the pad and had some aerodynamic stability and didn't have this noise.
شوف راني نحكي معك.
By that time,
Apollo 8 is the first time humans venture beyond Earth's
شوفي راني نقول لك.
Lovell marvels at never seen before sights.
I can see the entire Earth now out of the center window. شوفي لا. أنا نحكي معك هاي كنت تحكي معك. Central America.
Christmas Eve Day, 1968. With the moon dwarfing the nearing spacecraft, Commander Borman fires the main engine on the Apollo service module. The craft slows, then slides into orbit around the moon. The world watches in awe, but None more so than the three men peering out the tiny windows of their capsule.
We were the first three people to leave the confines of the Earth and be captured by another body. First time three people saw the far side of the moon. First time that we had gone so far. And first time that we saw the Earth from 240,000 miles away. So in that respect, I kind of thought that Apollo 8 was really a milestone and a high point in my career.
The vast loneliness up here on the moon is awe-inspiring, and it makes you realize just what you have back on Earth. The Earth from here is a grand oasis of the big vastness of space.
As the moon's pockmarked surface slips quietly by, the Apollo 8 crew ends its Christmas Eve broadcast with a special message for those back home.
And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good Earth.
For all its success, Apollo 8 is missing one key component for a moon landing. The lunar module, still being built, is overweight and behind schedule.
It's not a simple thing. Spacecraft never landed on another celestial body, so the design had to be done from scratch. One of the main things you had to figure out was that you had to have a rocket on the ascent stage, especially, that you had to be 100% sure would work, because you didn't want the two astronauts sitting on the lunar surface and the rocket didn't work.
The first LEM is ready for testing in Earth orbit on Apollo 9. The LEM is put through its paces and proves it's ready to go to the moon. With one significant limitation. Still too heavy, the LEM can't land. So Apollo 10, like Apollo 8 before it, will only orbit the moon and test rendezvous the lander with the command module.
This is really a rugged planet.
As John Young watches from his command module, Charlie Brown, Commander Tom Stafford and LEM pilot Gene Cernan undock Snoopy, their lander that can't.
I was doing backup maneuvers to the attitudes, and if they couldn't do the maneuvers, I would do the maneuvers and hopefully rescue them. But I was always ready in case their vehicle blew up or something to come back without them.
To test a landing approach, the LEM drops to within 9 miles of the moon's surface and gets a good look at the site NASA has selected for the first touchdown. Skimming the surface at nearly 3,700 miles an hour, Cernan peers out his window at Lunar Mountains.
We is down among us, Charlie. Roger, I hear you weaving your way up the freeway. Roger, fantastic, Charlie, fantastic.
I felt like I had to pick up my feet to keep from dragging my heels on the top of those mountains. When you move that fast across the surface and you're that close, it's an overpowering experience.
On their second flyover, the experience turns almost deadly when the lunar module tumbles out of control.
I saw the lunar horizon 8 times in 15 seconds in all different directions. That was a man-made problem because we were switching computers to check out a little backup computer we had. The guidance switch had to go in the other direction. I had already put it in the other direction. And so Tom went and moved it in the other direction. And so the computer that had the spacecraft at that moment didn't know where it was. But Tom was able to stop it, control it.
Finally, as in the comics, Snoopy returns to his master, Charlie Brown. Even before Apollo 10 enters lunar orbit, the Apollo 11 spacecraft has been rolled out to the launch pad atop its Saturn V rocket. In less than 2 months, its crew will try and safely set it down on the moon.
That's one small step for man.
I was in the student houses at Caltech, and we were watching the TV and all the excitement about, landing on another celestial object. And I had no idea that one day I'll become the director of JPL. But reflecting back on it, I mean, that was really something I remember forever.
One science leap for mankind.
They've all been to space before. Commander Neil Armstrong on Gemini 8. Command Module Pilot Michael Collins on Gemini 10. Lunar Module Pilot Buzz Aldrin set an EVA record on the final Gemini flight. The morning of July 16, 1969, spectators line the beaches around the Kennedy Space Center. America will attempt to end the space race. Moon fever is rampant.
And there was just great excitement, and you could hear lots of people saying, gosh, this is almost, I can't believe that somebody's going to go to the moon.
T-minus 15 seconds, guidance internal, 12, 11, 10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
At 9:32 a.m., the Saturn V's giant engines roar to life. At the viewing stand 3 miles away, spectators feel the thunderous drumbeat of unearthly power pounding their chests as the heat of the rocket's exhaust washes over them.
When that rumble came across the ground, it was like somebody was putting their hands on your chest and pressing. I almost couldn't breathe. It was so unbelievable that the United States was going to send 2 men to walk on the surface of the moon. It was almost unthinkable.
For 3 days, the crew of Apollo 11 cruises towards the moon, then drops its spacecraft into lunar orbit.
I just thought there were so many unknowns that I would have given us about a 50-50 chance of being the first flight to land and return someone safely.
With Collins remaining in the command module, Armstrong and Aldrin prepare the LEM and themselves to become the first humans on the moon.
Okay, all flight controllers, go for landing. Retro, go. Righto, go. Guidance, go. Control, go. GNC, go. Right, surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Eagle, Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
But the landing veers from the planned script. As the LEM nears the surface, the onboard computer flashes an alarm the crew doesn't recognize.
1201, roger, 1201 alarm.
Any one of thousands of technical glitches could abort the landing. But Houston quickly diagnoses the problem as non-critical, an overloaded computer.
1201 alarm. Same type, we're go, flight. We're go. Same type, we're go.
That's when real trouble threatens the mission.
540 feet down at 30, and at 15.
As the LEM pitches upright about a mile above the moon's surface, Armstrong gets his first look at where computers will set them down. A field of boulders, any one of which could prove deadly. Armstrong wraps his hand around the joystick and takes manual control.
10.5 down, 15 feet. 15 forward.
With fuel running out, Armstrong flies the LEM like a helicopter. Aldrin keeps his eye on their altitude, forward speed, and rate of descent, calling out the numbers.
10 feet, 3.5 down, 9 forward.
At 60 seconds, we're still 100 feet up. I was nervous. Okay, at 30 seconds, we were 10 feet. I figured we had it made. But 100 feet, or thereabouts, at 60 seconds, you could very easily just not be where you want to be.
4 forward, drift into the right level.
Sort of like driving your car when the gas gauge is reading empty, but you know that when it gets down there, you got a few more miles left. Well, that was the situation we faced. And I think it was in the last seconds. Everybody was holding their breath. It was pretty dicey.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Descent. Power control both auto. Descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. 413 is in. We've had shutdown. We copy you down, Eagle. T1. Stand by for T1. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Man on the moon.
Ooh, oh boy.
Thank you. You're
Wow.
looking good here.
Boy.
Okay, we're gonna be busy for a minute.
Like people around the world, of every persuasion and from every walk of life, mission controllers in Houston are overwhelmed.
Okay, keep the chatter down in this room.
Now, in the control room, we had work to do because we had to very rapidly look at the spacecraft systems and give the crew a stay-no-stay decision that everything was safe to remain in the moon, and we had to accomplish that within the first 2 minutes.
Okay, P1, stay, no stay, retro. Stay, vital, stay, stay, control, stay, Telcom, stay, GNC, stay, Ecom, stay, Surgeon, stay, Capcom, or stay for T1.
So basically, we had to keep our emotions in check and keep the chatter down for the first 2 hours after landing while everybody in the entire world was celebrating.
And we're getting a picture on TV. Hope you had a good picture, huh?
It's distorted, flickering, and at first upside down. But a small black and white television camera mounted outside the LEM gives the world its first live glimpse of an alien landscape. No one is more interested in seeing that first picture than the man responsible for bringing it to everyone's TV.
This whole mission was now about television, in my mind. There were hundreds of millions of people watching, waiting to see the first step on the moon and people on the moon, see a spacecraft on the moon, anything. And if it doesn't work, probably people who actually know my name years from now is the guy who didn't bring you television from the moon.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
The world just marveled at this right along with us, and we more or less made the whole world our partners in this thing by inviting people to be there during the launches. And I think that's one of the best things we ever did in the space program, and one of the best decisions ever made with regard to the space program was to share that with the world.
Okay, I just checked. Getting back up to that first step, it isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up.
More than 500 million people around the globe watch as Armstrong first makes sure he can get back into the LEM, then gives the first eyewitness account from the lunar surface.
The surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder.
6.5 hours after landing on the Sea of Tranquility, Neil Armstrong steps off the footpad of the lunar lander and ends the race to the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
For 2 hours and 31 minutes, Armstrong and Aldrin share their observations.
The surface is fine and powdery. I can kick it up loosely with my toe. There seems to be no difficulty in moving around as we suspected. It has a stark beauty all its own. It's like much of the high desert of the United States. It's different, but it's very pretty out here. Beautiful view. Magnificent sight out here. Magnificent desolation.
Aldrin says magnificent, but thinks otherwise.
What a desolate place we just landed on. Absolutely no life, no color, really, until you get down and look at the minerals in the rocks, because everything's covered with this little dust.
They are the only two beings here, but Armstrong and Aldrin have come for all humanity.
Here, man, from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon, July 1969, AP. We came in peace for all mankind. The primary and secondary struts are in good shape.
With future moon landings dependent upon its integrity, the LEM is examined closely.
Antennas are all in place. There's no evidence of problem underneath the LEM due to either the engine exhaust or drainage of any kind.
What little science this mission has time for is conducted with a seismometer. A core sampling is taken.
I hope you're watching how hard I have to hit this into the ground to the tune of about 5 inches, Houston.
No trip is complete without souvenirs. Commander Armstrong tallies up their take of moon rocks, study back on Earth.
And we got about, I'd say 20 pounds of carefully selected, if not documented samples.
Houston, Roger, well done out.
As Armstrong and Aldrin study the moon, controllers in Houston watch closely over them. Their life-sustaining suits have limited supplies of oxygen and power, and they're reaching their safety margins.
Buzz, this is Houston. It's about time for you to start your EVA closeout activities. Roger.
19 minutes later, the first moonwalk is over.
Okay, the hatch is closed and latched.
As the ascent stage of the Eagle takes flight and Tranquility Base recedes beneath it, the magnitude of the accomplishment begins to sink in for Chris Kraft.
In terms of technology, in terms of advancement of state of the art in science and technology, it was probably the most productive 10 years in the history of man. And when you reflect back on it, it probably was even greater than I could comprehend today.
With a scant 5 months to spare, NASA has met President Kennedy's goal. America has gained preeminence in human spaceflight. Yet it's only the beginning. Lunar exploration and science are Apollo's new mission, and the program will land 10 more men on the moon to fulfill it.
That's one small step for man.
We're in the viewing room at the Mission Control Center in Houston, watching the terminal phase of that flight and the landing itself on the moon. I was telling Neil not to land because we were next. But he did a great job.
One sign, please, for mankind.
Every Apollo mission starts the same. 3 men in a capsule sit atop the giant Saturn V rocket, waiting for its monstrous engines to propel them off the Earth. The 3-stage Saturn V stands 363 feet tall, and at launch weighs more than 6 million pounds. Its 3 stages generate nearly 9 million pounds of thrust. It is the largest rocket ever flown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running. Commit. Liftoff.
When Apollo 12 leaves Pad 39A on the second moon landing mission, the Saturn V proves its mettle. 36 seconds after lifting off in a rainstorm, lightning hits the rocket and waylays the crew's control panel.
I don't know what happened here. We had everything in the world drop out. I'm not sure if you get hit by lightning.
16 seconds later, as if to confirm Commander Pete Conrad's theory, a second lightning bolt strikes the rocket. Command Module pilot Dick Gordon watches his entire electrical system shut down.
The moment of the lightning strike, the reverse current relays did their job and shut down the fuel cells. So we were not receiving any electrical power from the fuel cells, which was our main source of electrical energy. Fortunately, at that time, the batteries were on the line for the launch itself, so we had electrical power, and that really saved us from automatic abort.
13 Saturn V rockets fly during Apollo, including every moon mission. Although anomalies occur, no Saturn V ever fails,
I think I see my crater. Maybe. I'm not sure.
including Apollo 12's.
There it is. Son of a gun, right down the middle of the road.
A major goal of the mission is to execute a pinpoint landing in an area called the Ocean of Storms.
So NASA said, we're going to demonstrate this by picking a certain crater, and then we'll send you there. And the crater we're going to pick is the one that has Surveyor 3 in, that landed inside this crater some 33 months earlier.
And that may have been a small one for Neil, but that's a long one for me.
And we landed, and the first thing Pete did when he got out was go around and look and see if Surveyor was in that crater.
Boy, you'll never believe it. That's what I see sitting on the side of the crater. The old Surveyor, huh? The old Surveyor, yes, sir. Does that look neat? It can't be any further than 600 feet from here.
Have a good shot of you there, Pete.
Live television from the moon is now in color.
Okay, Houston, I'm going to TV camera now.
But the achievement is short-lived when Alan Bean accidentally points the camera at the sun and burns out its video tube.
Pete and I didn't know that. And so when it burns out, we're standing around not knowing why. Now, the people on the ground knew immediately why, but they never told us. They never said, you pointed it at the sun, it's ruined forever.
Al, we have a pretty bright image on that TV. Could you either move it or stop it down?
That's as far as it goes, Houston. How does that look to you?
No, it still is the same, Al.
Big disappointment to all of us and everyone on Earth. Someone told me one day, they said, there's one thing good about it that came out of it. We used to have discussions that maybe we shouldn't have TV. They said, after your mission, never had that discussion anymore. Everybody agreed we needed TV.
NASA closes out the 60s by landing humans on the moon. Not once, but twice. The third attempt comes to be known as NASA's most successful failure.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. That's one small step for man.
It's pretty indelible. I remember sitting in my parents' bedroom in front of the old black and white Zenith. It was truly an incredible moment. I knew that I was witnessing something that was absolutely a turning point in human history.
One athlete for mankind.
Apollo 13, the third planned moon landing. Commander Jim Lovell's second trip to the moon. This time, he'll not only orbit the lunar surface, but also leave his footprints in its powdery dust. But instead of describing a lunar landscape, Lovell finds himself halfway to the moon, talking with Mission Control about his dying command module.
Main B bus undervolt. Roger, main B undervolt. Stand by at 13, we're looking at it.
Electrical power is disrupted, and readings in the capsule and at Mission Control don't jibe. Then Lovell sees something out his window.
Now, looks to me, looking out the hatch, that we are venting something. We are venting something out into space.
The explosion of an oxygen tank in the service module has damaged several key systems. The astronauts must scour 24 instruments, 40 alarm indicators, 71 lights, and 566 switches to regain control of their spacecraft.
With the loss of oxygen, because we use oxygen to produce electricity, all of our electrical power would quit. And when that happened, because we controlled our engine by means of electrical power, we'd lose the entire propulsion system. And so, essentially, it took a while for all that to sink in. That it dawned on me that we were in very serious trouble.
The crew of Apollo 13 never gets the chance to land on the moon. They can only slingshot around it and, with their lunar module Aquarius as their lifeboat, hope to make their way safely back to Earth.
We had to invent ways to navigate. We had to find ways to stretch the electrical power. Our crew was suffocating. We had to find ways to remove the carbon dioxide so the crew wouldn't suffer from CO2 poisoning.
We never had discussed the possibility of not surviving or getting back to the Earth. It was probably in all of our minds, but we were working hard to figure out what we had to work with and what we had to do to get back.
The command module, shut down and unheated for 3 days, would now have to be restarted. Condensation is everywhere.
The whole instrument panel was covered with water. And of course, I knew that there was water probably behind the panel on all the wiring harnesses. And so we worried about electric shorts. We were virtually going down rows and pushing in circuit breakers. We figured the best we could do is we started down the row and started smelling. You can smell an electric short. We'd back up and pull some out and hope we could quickly isolate which was the culprit.
But there are no shorts, due perhaps to the capsule redesign after the Apollo 1 fire. Sealing the electrical connections also means they're now waterproof for landing.
That's good. Farewell, Aquarius. Thank you.
After its harrowing 6-day ordeal, Apollo 13 safely splashes down in the Pacific. The moon landing mission may have failed, but Flight Director Gene Kranz remembers it as the space team's finest hour.
NASA contractor, people out in subcontractors, test facilities, and individual. It was really really amazing to be at the point of the spear and watch this team perform basically against all odds and to come up with solutions that we had never trained or thought about before.
While just getting to the moon can prove difficult, landing on its dusty, boulder-strewn, cratered surface is even more problematic. A lunar lander must maneuver like a helicopter, with its rotors replaced by rocket engines. Training with the LEM in Earth's atmosphere is impossible, so the Lunar Lander Research Vehicle is used. The Apollo astronauts call it the Flying Bedstead. To simulate the 1/6 gravity of the moon, the LLRV's central jet engine supports most of the vehicle's weight. But flying the LLRV is dangerous. On the afternoon of May 6, 1968, the craft nearly kills Neil Armstrong. Astronaut Bill Anders had flown the same vehicle just hours earlier.
The thing flamed out. The attitude control system ran out of fuel, and so Neil was flopping around there and just managed to get out of it. Well, he was very lucky because this thing was just on its main engine with no attitude control and was getting close to the ground, and it just kind of rolled out, and Neil looked like he came out of the fireball. And it did look like he went back into the fireball when with his parachute, but he landed just beyond it.
4 of these Earthbound trainers are used. 3 will crash, but the actual lunar modules land safely every time.
There's good okay, yeah, looking great. 16 seconds. 40 feet. 3 feet per second.
America's first astronaut, Alan Shepard, returns to spaceflight 10 years later to command Apollo 14's LEM and Terry's to a skillful setdown.
We're on the surface. Okay, we made a good landing.
Apollo 14 is on the moon almost 34 hours. About a third of that time is spent moonwalking in the lunar highlands.
Certainly the Fra Mauro area where we landed was an interesting place, and with far more relief up and down of the train than the earlier flights, which also made the navigation a little more difficult. Particularly, it was kind of like wandering around in the sand dunes, and one sand dune looks about like the other. So finding our landmarks that the geologists wanted us to find as we did our traverse on foot to Cone Crater was difficult.
I'm going to try a little sand trap shot here.
But Shepard manages a few seconds to become not only America's first man in space, but also its first golfer.
Miles and miles and miles.
2 miles is all the Apollo 14 astronauts are able to walk during their 2 EVAs. But the next mission will have wheels.
This is really a rock and roll ride, isn't it? That's one small step for man. Beautiful, beautiful. Isn't that something?
I was in Orlando in my parents' house. And as the first pictures came through, we were, of course, all just very enthusiastic and enthralled with what was happening.
One, 1, 1, 3 for me. out here in the wonders of the unknown at Hadley, I sort of realize there's a fundamental truth to our nature. Man must explore.
When Apollo 15 Commander Dave Scott descends the LEMS ladder 2 years after Neil Armstrong, he achieves his own first. Scott climbs aboard the first lunar rover with crewmate Jim Irwin, and as space first motorist, proceeds to peel out.
This is really a rock and roller ride, isn't it? Never been on a ride like this before. Oh boy. I'm looking at this great suspension system on this thing.
More than just a toy, the moon buggy is a science platform, allowing astronauts to venture farther from the LEM than the previous 3 Apollo missions. During 10.5 hours, Scott and Irwin cover 17 miles and examine many interesting sights.
A boulder exposed to the surface here, which has got layering within it. It's been weathered away apparently, and the surface top is exposed, but the boulder must be about a meter long with 2 to 3 inch layers in it.
Working in the suit is very fatiguing. You don't get the food, the water, the rest. So actually, we were not only probing the boundaries of geology and exploration, we're also probing the boundaries of human performance. The Apollo 15 mission really took us back to the drawing board in several areas to look at how we train crews, how we provide them adequate nutrition and hydration and all of these things.
Hey, John, this is perfect with the LEM and the rover and you and Stone Mountain and the old flags. Come on out here and give me a salute. Big Navy salute.
In the summer of 1972, Apollo 16 astronauts John Young and Charlie Duke spent 20 hours searching for volcanic rock in the Descartes Highlands.
Charlie, such form. Oh, Stephen. How about that? I'm going out for the ballet when I get back. You learn another line of work up here.
Because of the geological diversity of the moon, they wanted to get some samples from the mountains of the moon, if you will, or the highlands, which was a considerable elevation above the Luna Mare.
That is the most beautiful sight. What's that? You're standing there on the rim of that crater.
Well, it's great to have a lunar rover. When you turn the wheels, the front wheels would go this way and the rear wheels would go that way. So you could turn in your own diameter. And because of all the holes on the moon, you need to be able to do that.
Here he comes, folks. He's got the hammer out. I knew he couldn't resist.
I don't know if this will work or not, Charlie, but it couldn't pick a better spot.
Here we go. Hot dog. He did it. It's a very friable rock, apparently, Houston.
Okay, outstanding.
Science was certainly in the front seat. Of the 6 landings on the moon, the last 3, I think, were devoted completely to the science of it.
We'll sample right there and get you a scoopful of this underlying regolith.
There'll be just one more flight to the moon. Apollo 17 lifts off in the midnight hour of December 7th, 1972.
My God, it was like the sun coming up in the middle of the night. I mean, all of a sudden, this golden light, this flame that was the color of a sunrise, just exploding and filling the sky and filling my field of view, and in silence seeing this rocket ascend, and then without anticipating it, this roar of sound that just swept over us. It was absolutely spectacular. I mean, I've seen launches since then, but I don't think anything can compare with knowing that you're seeing 3 people who are on their way to the moon.
Okay, stand by for pitch over. Oh, are we coming in? Oh, baby. And there it is, Houston. There's Camelot. Wide on target. I see it.
Being the last mission, we built on all the other missions before us. And so our landing site was in the northeastern edge of the moon, which was off center. We landed in a valley, the Valley of Torres Litro, that was surrounded by mountains on three sides, higher than a Grand Canyon is deep. About, I don't know, give or take 20 miles long and maybe 5 miles across.
Okay, Houston, the Challenger has landed.
Roger, Challenger, that's super.
Houston, you can tell America that Challenger is at Torres Litro.
We landed within a couple hundred of our landing site. Pretty exciting.
Hippie hopping over hill and dale. Da 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 da. Hippie hopping along.
If America's moon missions must end with Apollo 17, Commander Gene Cernan makes it memorable.
Can you use the other end against the right side of the rock? I'll press it. Oh,
His partner, Jack Schmitt, is the only trained geologist to fly to the moon. At times, his mission zeal overtakes his ability to traverse the terrain.
No, dead. Well,
Hey, Gene, would you go over and help twinkle toes, please, Gene?
Well, working on the moon is a lot of fun. I mean, it's like walking around on a giant trampoline all the time, and you're just as strong as you were here on Earth, but you don't weigh as much. You only weigh 1/6 of what you weigh on the moon, even with a suit. And the backpack, my total weight was only 61 pounds.
Cernan has been to space twice before, including on Apollo 10's lunar orbit checkout of the LEM. Yet Cernan is awestruck by this valley and what hangs in the pitch-black sky overhead.
You have to pinch yourself when you're on the moon. Am I really here at this point in time in space? And the answer is yes, but it's almost like you're in the middle of some science fiction plot, because back there is the Earth, the multicolored blues of the oceans and the whites of the snow and the cloud you see from pole to pole, across oceans. Every 12 hours you look at the other side of the world. It truly is an ongoing, overpowering experience.
Meanwhile, Schmitt finds unexpected color in the gray moonscape.